Welcome everybody to episode 112 of the ADV podcast, and we've got a jam-packed episode, a lot of highs and lows in this one for you. What do you say we saunter right into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so we're going to start out, of course, with what's new, and we've got some hot off the press what's new stuff for you that you won't see anywhere else, and I'm going to start with it over here. Pictures of empty streets.
Yes, this is what you guys sign up for. Clamoring
yeah.
in. Everyone's coming in here. They're like, holy shit, cannot wait.
Okay, now there's some context behind this. First of all, these were taken like a couple hours ago, basically.
Yes.
Right? And these were taken on what is normally a Friday night in Shanghai, because, time difference and all. So it's Saturday morning there right now. So it was taken Friday night, and it was taken on the most happening streets in Shanghai. So the places you would expect to be packed with people drinking, having a good time. Anyone who's lived in China knows that the big cities, they never sleep anyway.
Yeah.
Like, there isn't a cut-off time. You go out at like 4 a.m., you'll still see tons of people around and people doing stuff. And
Depending on where you are.
yeah, I said the big cities.
Yeah, no, I'm not critiquing you. What I'm saying is you got to understand it can be the polar opposite to be true as well.
Yeah.
If you can be in some places, especially up north in northern China, stuff just shuts down. I remember I was in Harbin. And I'm looking for something to do. I'm looking for let's grab some beers or something. It was like 9 p.m. or something. Everything is done.
Yeah,
shut
that's
down.
probably the winter thing and whatever. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, in the big cities, especially a place like Shanghai, this is not normal.
No, this is Shanghai. I remember every time I went to Shanghai, stuff does not close, like you said. You can wander around and do stuff all night.
So for those of you who are wondering, and for those of you who are familiar with Shanghai, these photos were taken, like I said, a couple hours ago in Fuminlu, Changlelu, and Jululu, if that makes any sense to you. Let me go back to them.
You'll know the areas.
But basically, we're talking about the most happening parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's because about a quarter of Shanghai is back in lockdown again.
Yeah.
And they've just announced that they're going to be doing another round of mass testing. And that means that there's chaos once again.
And that does not mean that people are taking math exams while in church.
No. Basically, they're going to do a mass health test of everyone again because they're worried about a resurgence. So everybody has scrambled to all the shopping malls and shopping centers and gone and stripped the shelves and done the usual chaotic thing, because although they're being told, a buddy of mine now I got friends that are in the actual lockdown part, and I've got friends that are not in the lockdown part, if that makes sense. A buddy of mine's told me that they have shut them back in again until these mandatory tests that are coming up. When they say as soon as the tests are over, they'll let them out again. But you know what, they said that last time.
Yeah, and China's zero COVID policy is working great. It's working just fantastically, swimmingly. Everyone's very happy to be completely cut off, and the economy is taking a massive hit as well. People love that.
Anyway, so just for those of you who have been watching news and so on, and there's been a lot of this nonsense about, Shanghai's open again, it's over, it's behind us, it's in the past. Why is this then happening on a Friday night in the most happening parts of the city? Why is it that there's nothing? And like I said, this was sent to me literally hours ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Banana Moon.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a bar.
It is. Anyway, so
People were asking. So.
Oh, they were asking. Yeah. You didn't know Banana Moon? Come on.
What's wrong with you guys?
It must happen in places.
I hate, when people say that, like, you've never seen so-and-so movie?
Yeah. Come on.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. What's going on with you?
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that. Let's move on. What's the next thing? Why have you got our favorite wolf wanker up here?
Would you like to know?
Yeah, I'd love to know.
So this is Zhao Lijian, our favorite wolf wanker. Could be our least favorite as well. Oh, they kind of go hand in hand.
He's a horrible, horrible man.
Yeah. Anyway, he's a foreign spokesman for China. So anytime I always have to just pretend like people are new here. Could be some noobs.
Just wanted to show that I have a very colorful drinking water.
This has nothing to do with Zhao Lijian.
Of course not.
Just saying. No. Anyway, so Zhao Lijian, when the government wants to put something out in English, even though he doesn't use English unless he's typing, by the way. But they'll use him as their foreign spokesman, right?
Yeah.
And he goes out and he was very upset. Well, the Chinese government's very upset right now because the WHO, World Health Organization, insinuated that they might have to do another investigation, a deeper investigation.
Yeah, that they may have just brushed over the initial investigation of COVID origins.
Right? So coming from the Wuhan lab, huge chunk of people, including myself, think that's how COVID started.
Yeah.
They're studying bat coronaviruses inside of this lab in Wuhan. And then all of a sudden, Wuhan becomes the epicenter of the outbreak. Put 2 and 2 together, right?
Yeah.
The thing is, Peter Daszak.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
He headlined the investigation. And unfortunately, he was... Very good. He was very much responsible for the cover-up, part of the cover-up, in that he was working together with Shi Zhengli, the head scientist in this lab.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, you've heard of gain of function by now.
Yeah.
He was actually making sure that money was being funded into research with bat coronaviruses within the exact lab where we suspect it broke out from.
Anyway, I did this huge expose in the beginning about how they tried to cover it up. I got a lot of unwanted attention from the Chinese government. Anyway, let's just say that Peter Daszak and this whole spiel, this whole thing that happened out of the Wuhan lab and then the subsequent cover-up, was basically, it was this token investigation that was put on by the CCP where they cleaned up the labs. They put a ton of time in between it happening.
Yeah, like a year or something.
Anyway.
And then they got Peter Balzac, who, just so happens that he's the one funding the lab and that particular researcher, and he's involved in that whole thing, and his massive friends with the scientists working there, and he drinks baijiu with them and goes to KTV.
It's very
so
bad.
they bring him in because they know he's just gonna want to save his own ass.
It's fishy and fatty.
It's conflict of interest.
So anyway, long story short, WHO is like, you know what? Maybe everyone in their critiques of saying that this was probably not the greatest investigation of all time was right, and we need to do another thorough investigation of the lab leak theory, right? Because the Chinese government painted the lab leak theory as preposterous, when in fact it's just the most recognizable.
It's the most logical. It's the logical thing that anyone would think, because the Wuhan, the wet market where people were getting all the infections from is like very close. It's 100 meters away.
Meters away.
Meters away from one of the satellite labs of the Wuhan lab.
Where they were conducting. All about it.
Yeah. Anyway, it's ridiculous, and the way it panned out is the World Health Organization, people like Peter Daszak from the Eco Death Alliance, and Fauci and everybody else that got involved were trying to paint anybody who spoke about it as a lab leak as a conspiracy theorist and trying to demonize them.
Right.
Where I think everybody who has common sense would have at least entertained the idea that it could have been a lab leak.
And the thing is, I've been in contact with scientists after scientists after scientists. I'm not bullshitting. This is like so many people have reached out and they're like, listen.
Even Balzac himself, if you watch his interviews just before, he's bragging about how they found the spike proteins and the cleavage sites and blah, blah, blah.
We did a whole thing on that.
Yeah, we've done it. Even he himself, before the lab leak, was like, this is what we're doing.
This is what we're doing, and it's very dangerous.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, put Jolly Jin back on there. Why'd you take him away?
Oh, yeah. You mean our favorite wolf wanker? There he is.
So he got mad. China got mad. They're like, how dare you? I'm going to quote him, okay?
Quote him.
He says, Foreign Ministry spokesperson Zhao Lijian rejected accusations that China had not fully cooperated with investigators, saying it welcomed a science-based probe but rejected any political manipulation. He reiterated calls for an investigation into highly suspicious laboratories like Fort Detrick and the University of North Carolina in the United States, where China, and he has suggested without evidence, that the U.S. was developing coronavirus as a bioweapon. Here's the quote from Zhao.
Yeah.
The lab leak theory is totally a lie, concocted by anti-China forces for political purposes, which has nothing to do with science. Now, bitch, listen.
Yeah. No science, right?
Your government is the one that's been going around saying that every single other country other than China is the one that put coronavirus out there, potentially on purpose, is the bioweapon. You're the ones claiming that. Number two, people are testing walls and fish and frogs and lambs
truck
and
tires
shit. And truck tires. So you're talking to me about a scientific-based approach? Bitch, now you're blaming North Korean air?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you play the next part?
Oh, yeah.
Just play this in the background. So this is your scientific approach. Ready? Here's Zhao Lijian's scientific approach. Now China is calling, and this just gets me razzled up. It wrestles my jimmies.
Right.
Calling for people in Dandong, so on the border of North Korea, which we've spent a lot of time there, by the way. This is in Dandong, which you're seeing right now. People are getting scolded.
Okay.
the border region in China with North Korea, the people are being told by the government to close their windows now, right?
Yes.
In their apartments, because the wind from North Korea could carry over the river into their house and give them coronavirus.
Yeah, so,
that's your scientific-based approach.
Basically, a breeze could carry coronavirus from a random North Korean over the border into your apartment and give you coronavirus.
But not the Wuhan lab that studied bat-derived coronaviruses.
And we're actually manipulating them in such a way that they could be infectious in humans.
Correct.
And it's a couple 100 feet or meters away from the
What's
wet
happening is that it's coming through the air in your windows.
Yes, and that some lab technicians fell sick.
Yes.
And all this other nonsense that we know it comes from the lab.
Yes.
Like it definitely did.
This is our opinion, and it was a great concerted effort to make people like me and you sound crazy about it, and now it's pretty well accepted in a large chunk of the scientific community.
Absolutely. When I say we know it comes from a lab, it's like if I kick my toe on a rock.
By the way, this is us on the North Korean border. Yeah. This is our footage.
Yeah, exactly. So if I kick my toe on a rock and I really hurt my toe, right? Mm-hmm. I can go and say, I'm pretty sure I hurt my toe on that rock. People can say, oh, well, actually, it's like the pain receptors in your toe that decide. No, it's the rock. I kicked the rock.
Right.
So, you say it in a simple way. I'm 100% convinced. I don't know.
Me too. Me too. 100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. You make up anything else, but,
you can do whatever, like devil's advocate or whatever, but like according to us, that's where it came from.
From the very beginning.
Common sense.
From the very, very beginning. Anyway, so apparently the wind is going to carry coronavirus. China's been incredibly unscientific when it comes to
the most
coronavirus. These batshit crazy, the pun was not intended there, but these batshit crazy ideas that they've had from the very beginning about where it might come from.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Bat blood crazy.
Yeah, exactly. It's been outlandish, but the worst part about it is that it's not like some theories that have appeared in
we're flying through the air.
I'm sorry.
Just a sec.
I gotta get
bring us back to North Korea. Come on, no one's ever said that. Bring us back to North Korea.
What I'm trying to say is that these theories that were put up, but might be coming on frozen food, or it's coming from Italy, or it's coming whatever.
It's coming on frozen food.
Yeah, well, what it's coming from.
Yeah.
Okay. That the coronavirus can be found on all these random things. What was it, like clothing or
Korean clothing? Remember that?
All this stuff. It's not some weird scientific journal or not like a gossip rag or something. It's put out by state media. It's put out on the news, and it's told to the population of China, this is where it's coming from, or this is probably where it's coming from. They have videos of themselves taking a swab and testing a truck tire that's covered in mud and a rock that we've shown you before, and all this other stuff. It's not scientific.
No. So
testing a fish.
No.
In its mouth. No. Do you have? Where are your lungs? I don't know, but I'm just going to test it anyway.
I have lungs.
No, exactly. It's dumb. So the whole point of them saying, we're only going to listen to scientific, methods when it comes to this is a lie, because they themselves have shown over and over that they don't understand what approaching this whole coronavirus infection from a scientific standpoint is.
Right.
Right? That's the point I'm trying to make.
So, good point. And what this actually is from our friend Jolly Jen is actually something we like to call...
Oh, yeah.
Projection! And that is another case where Jolly Jen is caught with projection.
Absolutely.
You piece of shit. Stop. You dumbass. You look so stupid.
Absolutely.
And the Chinese government is getting... I mean, I don't want to say getting out of control. They've already gone full, ape shit crazy.
So if something doesn't match up with their narrative, they call it unscientific.
Yeah.
Something matches up with their narrative, they call it scientific.
Correct.
It's that simple.
Right.
Anyway, we got to move on from that because we could talk about that all day, and we all know the case. Now, next we're going to talk about a game.
Yes.
Don't worry, it's not a sponsorship.
Nope. Don't you worry. Everyone in the chat's like, whoa, War Thunder.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
I don't even know what War Thunder is. I only found out after I did research for this.
The reason we're showing this, which looks like it could be quite a lot of fun, actually. Dude flying around in a Spitfire and stuff. Why are we showing this?
Oh, I have some secret documents to tell you. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
Right. So this is War Thunder, which is it's a game. It's like an online game.
Yeah.
Kind of like you fly planes and drive tanks or something, right?
Yeah, I guess so. It looks like a massively multiplayer. Why does it keep...
Stop it there.
Oh, stop it here or stop it there?
Stop it on that document.
Okay, stop it on the document.
That was my secret document.
That's a secret document. Yeah. Okay, so basically it looks like it's
a secret document.
It's a multi multiplayer game
war game.
online.
It's not a simulator. It's like
So it's not hyper realistic, right?
No. It is
Okay.
not. I think a lot of people wish it was. But anyway, I did some research into this because I found out that it is home to a very dedicated type of person. And it's the type of person that you might get along with because you like military stuff.
Yeah.
But it's some of the subset of this population that loves this game are intensely into it. Kind of like the people that love trains and carry little notebooks around and document.
Dude, every single subculture has people that are overly
That's
obsessed.
why I said a certain subset.
One might say the same about you in Star Wars. I saw your little book in the bathroom there about like different races or something of Star Wars, and so you know what I mean.
Yes.
Like I'm know.
I'm very out about that. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, 100%. By the way, I'm not blame. I said a certain sect of the people that are interested.
I'm just trying to explain it. Like, doesn't
100%.
matter what subculture there is.
Yes.
You get people who are incredibly
100%.
dedicated to it.
So, unfortunately, for this type of community, unlike Star Wars, which won't get you in trouble, this could get you in trouble because
it's
a lot
military.
of these people are affiliated with military, right? And they
Military
write down,
fanboys.
Yeah, military fanboys. They write down serial numbers on the casing of a muzzle. Right?
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. Crazy amount of detail.
Yeah.
And what they do is they'll get into these arguments on the forums and be like, no, the French tank there was wrong, blah, blah, blah. The tread pattern was incorrect, and blah, blah, blah. And they correct each other. And they're like, no, I worked in the special infantry unit of the blah, 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 right?
Sure.
And a couple of these guys are military. So first thing that happened was years and years ago, a British guy was like, no, screw you. And he actually had a classified document. Okay. He removed the classified stamp and put unclassified on it and said, see, I was right. He
wanted to prove a point.
He was so wrapped up in this argument online, this beef, that he had to prove it. Another thing happened in France. But anyway, the newest thing was in China. Mm-hmm. This guy's playing War Thunder, arguing with people online on this forum about Chinese military stuff, right? And he's like, screw you, I work... with the tank infantry crap, right?
Right.
And he has this document, by the way, this is censored, but the uncensored one is online.
Right.
And it's like the actual rod, like schematics and stuff of how the tank works, and it's highly classified.
I think it's an anti-tank projectile.
Yeah, that's correct. Anyway, tank related. The point is that it's classified.
Right.
You're not supposed to... You're not supposed to be showing this online to prove a point, to win an online forum battle, and so obviously it's getting...
So in other words, Chinese military secrets were leaked
because of a video game.
On the forum. Oh. I mean, I feel like all it's going to be is just something that is already known because it'll be a copy of something that's out there. So I don't think anyone's going to really benefit from this.
So doing research, the major analysis was that intelligence around the world doesn't give a shit because they already know. But China cares.
Because it's theirs.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you stole our design and there it is.
But China cares because it shows that people are out there with this sensitive documents. I mean, what's next, right?
Yeah, sure.
Maybe this wasn't a big deal, but what's next?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
maybe a copy of the Black Hawk will come up next or something.
And then they'll be like, whoa, this is just our blueprint.
Yeah, it's close enough. They got this wrong, but it's almost there.
80.
Yeah, that used to happen with the Soviet Union all the time. They'd reverse engineer a plane, and then they'd build their own, and they would add features that are unnecessary. Yeah. So, for instance, some of the MiGs have got like these special kind of cutters that are built in case they do a false landing on an aircraft carrier, and the net gets tangled. It's supposed to cut the nets. So they found those on like U.S. planes. They captured oil, and they started to put them in the MiGs that don't even go on aircraft carrier because they didn't know what they were.
Right. That's actually funny because in the Vietnam War, when the Viet Cong would get weapons, right, like pistols and stuff, they would have they're very talented like smelters and stuff in the jungle out there doing presses of these guns that they would capture from the Americans, and they would have all these like extra features on there, but they basically blanked out because they didn't know what they were, but they still pressed them.
But they put them on. It's kind of funny. Yeah. It's interesting to see that. Anyway, so that's that as far as that's concerned. So be careful if you're playing a game. Don't
put military secrets.
Yeah, don't reveal military secrets.
Or do it. It's up to you if you want to go to jail.
Yeah. Remember we talked about this last time?
Yeah, explain what it is.
Well, it's an anime, and the Chinese censors decided in their infinite wisdom that it was too violent, so they would censor it. So they took the blood on the mother's face, in this case, I think. It's a mother or something. And changed it from the color red to the color white. And, of course, everybody who's ever, I don't know,
even
lived will know that that's a rather stupid thing to do. Yeah. So somebody came along with a comic, which is kind of funny, to take the piss basically out of this. And it's got two guys that are fighting. And they're like, what's wrong? Done already? He's like, cough, I can do this all day. And the Chinese censor guy comes along and says, "Excuse me, Chinese censorship coming through. Be just a second. All right, you're now officially family friendly according to CCP regulations. Carry on." And changed all the blood on these two guys fighting into, well, white liquid.
And they're both like,
Yeah. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yep. Anyway, so, yes, this was a fantastic meme that somebody on our subreddit came up with. Thank you very much. After last week, when we spoke about Elon Musk praising the renewable energy sector in China without even thinking about the increasing coal usage and the other terrible things that are going on. So this is a well-known meme. For those of you who don't know, there's a cartoon of a girl standing posing for a photo. Somebody's taking a photo, but they're just taking a photo of her breasts. And it says token renewables on there. Everywhere else is CCP, human rights violations, massive ever-increasing coal usage, a literal genocide, and Elon Musk's only taking a photo of the token renewables. Yeah, I thought that was great. So well done. Thank you for that one. I tweeted that at him. I didn't get a reply.
You tweeted that at Elon Musk?
Yes.
Yeah, apparently he doesn't have a good sense of humor.
I said at Elon Musk, is this fair?
He doesn't have a good sense of humor, let's be honest. Just because you show up on Saturday Night Live doesn't make you funny.
Yeah, true.
Like a lot of the people on Saturday Night Live.
Yeah, didn't what's his name again? Is that like Kung Fu guy? What's his name again? Steven Seagal. He actually hosted it once.
Did he?
Yeah, it wasn't funny. Anyway, what do we got going on here?
So this dude this is showing your training for when you're going to go hang out with your family in China.
Yeah.
And just go back to the beginning. I'll explain each one.
Yeah, because this is funny. If you've lived in China, you will understand this. So he's got some weights and he's doing some exercises.
Yeah, when you're getting ready to go spend time with your family, you better get ready and train your arms to get ready to shuffle mahjong tiles, which is like a game where you don't mahjong. Yeah. Anyway, you have tiles.
Anyone who ever had a Nintendo knows what a mahjong is.
This is what we call slap.
Yeah.
You get ready to slap the card as hard as you can. Bam! Slap. We call it slap.
Yep.
Now he's getting ready to do the dice roll, which is a drinking game in China.
Yeah, Schweizer, That's what they call it. Dude, that drinking game, when I first got to China, we always played that. You learn that at the bars. It's kind of the
100%. Everyone knows how
it's all like liu or bagaba or whatever. Yeah. And you
one side's
basically you either decide you're going to go up or whatever. I can't even remember the rules.
We know it quite fluently.
Yeah.
We played a lot of sides.
Yeah, of course we did, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
it was fun, and it's like whoever loses has to drink or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you ever, when I was young, like lose on purpose?
Just to drink?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it was going slow.
I mean, no, I just always lost on purpose because I don't have patience for that. If I'm sitting down to have a drink, I want to drink. I don't want to play a game to drink.
I gotcha, yeah. In the beginning, it was very much fun. Like, I thought it was a novelty. Over the years.
Tell you what, though, if you go to any outdoor bar or restaurant thing, it's just like the whole time. Anyway, it's an experience.
No, what I wanted to say about sides is that part and parcel of the game is actually cheating.
Sure.
It's the whole thing is cheating. You use the lip of your cup to actually roll the dice.
Oh, yeah, that's part of it for sure.
That's not like he's a cheater. Everyone does that.
And like the more drunk you get, the more you can get away with it.
Yes,
yeah. But if people catch you out, then you have
of course,
to do it again.
Yeah, you have to drink and do it again. But like everyone's cheating.
Yeah. Anyway, guys doing this.
He's like, no.
Hongbao, like, no, thank you.
So in China, during the Chinese New Year, when they hand you the red envelopes, like with money in it, you have to at least feign like you don't want it. You have to be like, no, I don't know, no, booyah.
Yeah, exactly.
And just like a humility thing.
It is.
It's like, I don't need the money,
Yeah.
It's being polite.
All right, cool. So that concludes our What's New section.
Does it?
I mean, we've got the wedding thing. Is that part of What's New?
That is absolutely part of What's New.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So we're going to show you a little clip. Give us a second. I'm just going to start this out so you guys can take a look. All right, what's going on behind us? In fact, we'll get out of this for a minute. Okay, here we go. Watch this.
Dude, you're already at the wedding. The deal is closed. Nobody in that room can change the outcome of what you guys are doing.
Okay, so those of you who might be a little bit confused, never mind. The song's a bit of a background, inside joke, but
it's lore, deep lore.
It's deep lore. It has something to do with this.
Is that me gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear.
It does
certainly
have
does.
something to do with that. In fact, directly.
Yeah, directly
Well,
does.
actually, I mean, at some point we have to just say what that is.
Yeah.
Because it's a full-on produced song
Yes.
about some hate that came at us.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's deep lore.
Yeah, we'll get into it at some point. But basically, what you're looking at here is a wedding.
Sichuan,
Yes.
Western China.
Okay, in a very well-known poor area of China. Okay.
Yeah, it's not the poorest.
Yeah, it's
Guizhou's poorer than
Yeah,
Sichuan.
I know, but this particular area is known as
for
being
sure.
very poor.
Yeah.
So this is a wedding in China, Chinese wedding. Okay, someone live streamed it because live streaming seems to be the thing to do in China. So let's just play it in the background a little bit.
What you guys are doing.
Okay, so anyway, weddings in China are, of course, a massive cause for celebration, just like everywhere else in the world. If you've ever been a part of a Chinese wedding, it's very different. And it, of course, varies depending on which area you're in. A Guangdong wedding is very different to something that you'll have like up north or wherever. So this video is showing this lovely wedding celebration in a very, very poor place.
But it's not going there to document the poverty and look at how poor these people are. It's just people filming the wedding.
Yeah.
Because they're celebrating it.
Correct.
Yeah.
What happened to the guy who filmed this?
He got arrested.
He got arrested. Why?
The guy that was just waiting here to document these people's wedding. It's not, by the way, this is not going on Nat Geo or something.
No, is this something for like
It's
Weibo
a dude,
or
he's
something?
like, yeah, he's like, hey, it's my buddy's getting married, you know?
Sure.
Like, let's spread it around. Let's celebrate. Everyone happy. Look at, we got all the crops out. We got all the oranges out, you know, celebrate some fruit. We got all this kind of stuff. He gets arrested because it's promoting or lying about the poverty situation in China. Because you're not, remember we talked about this?
Yeah.
If you ever see an article out there, and this is a warning for you guys to keep your alerts on.
Yeah.
If you see an article about how Xi Jinping eradicated poverty in China, don't just pay attention to this clip, but pay attention to the fact that you're not allowed, we talked about this.
Yeah.
It's not that poverty was eliminated. It was that Xi Jinping said poverty was eliminated. So if you talk about it now, then you're going to get in trouble because poverty is supposed to have been eliminated.
Yeah.
It's not the reality. It's virtual reality.
It is. It is.
So this poor guy just goes and looks at this wedding, puts the video out there, he gets arrested because you're not allowed to show poverty anymore. It's not that poverty's not allowed to exist.
Yeah, he got arrested by the local government for making China look bad.
Yes, that's exactly
actually what the charge was. Yeah. And I mean, this is just absurdity. There's no reason to hide this kind of thing.
No.
Everybody understands. It doesn't matter what country you're from. Okay, doesn't matter where you are. There's going to be poor people. There's going to be poverty, and we should work together to try our best to change that.
I have a little piece of advice.
What's that?
The Chinese government is that you allowing people to see poverty in China doesn't make China look bad, but arresting people that film it absolutely does.
Yes.
It makes you realize that the problem's way worse than this family or this region. It means it's probably widespread, which we can confirm having rode around the entire country.
Absolutely.
And they're just trying to hide it. And the thing is, it penetrates very successfully into other journalism. Like, there's obviously great journalists out there and stuff, but I'll see mainstream articles often talk about, like, not like praising, like, oh, look at how amazing China is. It's like, when China eliminated poverty in 2018, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's a fact instead of like, holy shit, that's not a fact at all.
No.
Their poverty didn't go anywhere.
No.
Right?
No.
Anyway.
So I see you've kind of muddled up some of the clips here, so I'm just going to quickly bring us to the cause. I wanted us, this is what's new over here, right?
What?
This. Okay.
No, it's not.
It's not what's new?
No, I put it in worldview.
Well, then why do you have the... give us a second here, guys. Why do you have this footage then right here? Where is it?
What?
Why did you, straight after this poverty footage, put in...
It's not ADVChina unless we argue about this.
Why did you put this footage in then? This is very much related to the other thing.
Oh, the chaff thing?
Yeah.
Oh, in my mind it wasn't. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. It is similar.
Okay.
It was separate to me.
So should we just...
In my heart.
Should we
keep doing it? It's fine.
Okay, well...
Yeah, do it together.
Okay.
Yeah,
you want to do it together now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do that now.
All right, since it is what's new and it is relevant, before we get into the main topic, of course...
I thought this was world because, you have different countries involved. Yeah.
Remember last time we spoke about the pride of the Canadian military, the Aurora?
The Aurora. We had some great humor on the subreddit about that.
Well, apparently, China accuses Canada of provocative acts in the skies after the military jet criticism.
Oh my god!
Yeah, seriously.
What is that called?
Oh, that's called projection. Anyway, turns out it's not only Canada that's being harassed. Okay, Australia is being harassed too. But there was an incident which is actually even more dangerous than what's been happening. Because remember with the Auroras, they were just buzzing them. If we look at this clip from the Australian 9 News, we also have a military surveillance aircraft, okay, which is
represented here.
The RAF. Is that, I suppose it's Royal, what is that? Royal Australian Air Force. So that's what it'll be.
The riffraff.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, because the RAF is the Royal Air Force. You know, it's my grandfather used to fly for the Royal Air Force. And this is the RAAF. Come on, guys, make up something a little more interesting. Call it, I don't know, kangaroo fighters or something.
Yeah, the kangaroo,
anyway,
the koala fighters.
They're busy doing a patrol. And a Chinese jet, instead of just buzzing them, actually dumped chaff, which is very, very bad. Okay, you can see here the simulation in the background. For those of you who don't know what chaff is, it's a countermeasure. If you're flying a fighter jet and you've got a missile fired at you, you dump chaff, and what it is it's kind of like particles of like tinfoil type stuff that it's incendiary, and it basically creates a heat signature, so the missile might think it's the plane, and it goes towards that instead of the plane.
Gotcha.
But what happened in this incident is they dropped chaff, and it got sucked into one of the engines of the plane, and it could have potentially caused a crash. Now, I don't know what's wrong with the world out there, but that, to me, is an act of war.
Yes.
That's almost the same as opening fire.
The thing is, if this happened with with Australia and they dumped chaff on China, the international community would call that an act of war.
Yeah.
Including, especially China.
Yeah, of course. If you literally put the crew at risk inside of that plane by not only flying dangerously close, and by the way, they were operating within international airspace once again, not in China's airspace. And international is for everyone, right? That's the whole point. It's for, Chinese planes can be there too, flying around. It's international airspace. No one's like saying, don't go there, China.
Yeah.
But they're sending their jets up there to harass anyone who's in the international airspace, which of course they claim is their own.
Of course.
This is the South China Sea stuff, right? But dumping chaff into the engine of an aircraft like that is incredibly dangerous, and it could have actually caused the deaths of everybody on board the other plane.
That would have definitely been declared an act of war, I think.
I don't know. I mean,
at this point, who knows,
At this point, and again,
China can do whatever they want.
China accused Australia of being provocative and whatnot.
And Canada.
Yeah. What the hell is wrong with this situation?
It's insane.
It's also when you've got a surveillance aircraft, which is unarmed. It's not it's not there to like attack anyone. It's a surveillance aircraft being attacked by fighters, being buzzed by fighters, and being, literally dropping something that hits it. It's not good.
It's attempted sabotage.
It is. So anyway, there's something that happened literally a few days ago. Okay, so let me get us to that. I've got to go scrub back and find it. This is something that seems to happen a lot whenever these incidents come around. As we discussed last week, let me just get past this. There was another fighter pilot crash in China. This time it was in...
Survived, by the way.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So YouTube,
survived.
Chill out.
Yeah, there's the pilot. He's alive and well.
Yeah.
Where was that again?
In Hebei.
Hebei, right. So it was
Hubei, sorry.
Hubei? Yeah, I thought it was Hubei.
Yeah, it's Hubei.
Yeah. So again, we had another fighter pilot crash. I guess what happens is they do these international provocation things, and then they're like, oh, well, yeah, look, we better do some training quickly, just in case something kicks off. And then whenever they try to do training, they crash.
Someone died, but not the pilot. So no, we didn't show anyone die.
No.
It was a civilian on the ground, apparently.
Makes sense.
Not in the video. Don't
Well,
worry.
I mean, when a jet plane crashes into buildings and cars and stuff.
Disclaimer.
Yeah, disclaimer. Okay. Anyway, so we had another jet pilot crash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
another fighter crash.
Talked about how common this is. It is just so prolific in China.
And one of the reasons we wanted to bring this up is there's been a bit of misinformation or mistaken information going out there on Twitter and so on.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying, to be honest.
Some people were...
This is this crash.
This is the crash, yes. This is the crash, right?
Crashed into some houses.
Yeah. There were some injuries, of course, people being burned and stuff. That's kind of happens when you have aviation fuel going everywhere and catching on fire.
Makes sense, right?
But this clip behind us here, these clips, this is not.
Yeah, I saw this going around as like part of the crash. This isn't even in the same freaking province.
Some people were sharing this to say this is footage of the jet fighter crash. This is not.
Absolutely not. This is in Hangzhou.
Yeah, and this is what was it? It was a
motorcycle factory fire.
It was a motorcycle. I thought it had something to do with ice and fire.
Yeah, so that's the area. It's like a shopping zhuangxiu. How do you say zhuangxiu? Like a
renovation decoration
district.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a different thing. That is a fire that caught a bunch of stuff. It's not lots. A bunch of people did die in that one as well. But that's an unrelated disaster.
What happens when people that can't read Chinese, though? Is there's literally, it says Hangzhou right there.
Yeah.
When you...
It does. Look, it doesn't matter.
No, people should be accurate.
Yeah, we want to be accurate. So anyway, just to follow up from last week, for some or other reason, we have Chinese military jets harassing surveillance aircraft again, this time almost fatally. And then we've got more Chinese fighter jets crashing as they try to train. And this is something that you see happening quite a lot.
Yeah.
So if you want to know more about it, you can watch our previous episode where we showed a bunch of examples of
we talked about our time
jet fighters crashing. Yeah. So I guess that's it for What's New. That was a long What's New segment.
I believe so, yeah. So this is a pretty big sode, so we're going to have to rip through some of this stuff.
Okay, cool. So do you want to answer a couple of super chats before we hit our next...
Thank you to all the people donating, obviously. Really appreciate that. I want to say shout out to friend of the channel, Joshua Ortiz. Personal friend of mine as well. It's his birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much, Josh, for your support. Appreciate it. Charles Womack, the irony of the CCP is that you were pro-China influencers. No, we are pro-China influencers. Until they came at you with the PLA. I'm referring to your recent video. Oh, yeah, actually, I'll talk about that later. But
I gotta say, man, like that's something that really annoys me.
Yeah.
People call us anti-China.
Pro-China.
Yeah, people that call us anti-China obviously cannot tell the difference between a government and a country or a people. Because we're not. We're actually very pro-China. We're very anti-CCP, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Communist Party of China, not good. And the ill effects that they've had on society as a whole.
More anti the bad behavior of the CCP.
Yeah,
not even anti-CCP. There's good people in the CCP, of course.
Sure.
Sorry, JPN says, I misread the title as goth influencer erased in China. She's not even close to being a goth girlfriend. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Anthony Saint says, you guys keep your foot to the CCP since it appears they are getting influenced by it since they're always changing their story. Thank you very much.
It's true.
Gunfox61, thank you very much. Jason Park, thank you very much. Shaze, thank you very much. And he says, let's saunter right in. Let's
do it. Okay, so let's go into the main thing, guys, which is Soft Power Hour, where we talk about how the Chinese government is trying to change your mind through various ways and means. And let's take a look at this week's one, which is, well, this has been a bit of a backfire as far as everything is concerned. We're first going to talk, maybe you've got some notes about this dude. What happened to this dude?
This dude. Oh, no, I'll talk about the other guy. This dude just, he did like an art piece where he's in mainland China. He stood in front of the principles of Chinese socialism. Right here, you see like Ziyou and all that kind of stuff.
Freedom,
like all those fake pillars of what Chinese socialism actually means.
Yes.
He stood in front of them like Tankman. So you remember Tankman?
Yes.
The guy stood in front of the tanks. He had the two
Everyone
bags.
knows.
And he had that headband on, and he had the two bags, right? So he did this, and apparently, this is alleged, but apparently this guy's disappeared.
Yeah, since doing this, he's disappeared.
This mild photo to bring awareness back to Tiananmen Square, but it's very much related to our main segment here.
Yeah, bring it up in a second.
Which is about this guy, Li Jiaqi, right? Austin Lee. And I'm just going to, while you bring it up, I'm going to read some stats. This influencer in China had 64 million followers. So that made him the biggest one in China. Yeah,
this is this guy in the background, by the way. I got to introduce a little bit about him. You can tell the stats in a minute, but he is known as Lipstick Brother number 1.
Yeah.
Okay, literally. He basically made his career. He started working for, I think, L'Oreal or something at one of those little booths in a mall.
Oh, wow.
And then
what a come up.
Yeah, so basically he realized that people were not comfortable trying on the different colors he was trying to sell to them. So he thought a novel idea. He'd wear the different colors of lipstick and
Make it more comfortable.
just show people like, look, this is this color.
That's a clever idea.
And apparently he became like massively popular.
Right.
And so he started to win all these competitions.
Right.
Huge
influencer.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I'm a little cringed out by him, to be honest. It's just me. Anyway, the fact of the matter is he became fantastically popular. Okay?
Yeah.
Fantastically popular. And he started to garner a massive following, and he started to do the live streaming thing and started to sell stuff. Okay? Now, what were you saying about his net worth?
So, let me read off.
Yeah.
Put the footage up here.
Okay.
So, Li Jiaqi, Austin Lee, English name. So if you want to find him, Austin Lee.
Austin Lee.
64 million followers. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
That's literally like, what, a fifth of America's population?
Yeah.
Right? $15 million net worth. But that was prior to this. This is like an old stat.
Yeah.
So $15 million just from streaming
15
lipstick.
US, yeah, over 100 million RMB, right?
Oh, by the way, lipstick in Chinese is one of my favorite, like, direct translations, kind of.
Yeah.
For example, one of my favorites is Frankenstein, which is 科学怪人, which means science strange man.
How about 圣诞节老人, which is Christmas old man,
which is Santa Claus.
Yeah.
But one of my favorites is lipstick, which is 口红. 口红 means red mouth.
Yeah.
Or mouth red.
Yeah, 口红.
Lipstick is mouth red. Anyway,
Yes.
he was lipstick brother number one, and he was wealthy beyond all belief, but he was the biggest influencer in China. And the reason that's important is that we've seen this multiple times where an influencer gets so big and so large that all eyes are on him, and the CCP will cut them down to size.
Yeah, we'll explain. But before we do that, I got to tell you, this guy pulled off an incredible feat. 2018, he broke the Guinness World Record for the most lipstick applications in 30 seconds.
How is that a record?
I feel like you can make a record out of anything.
You can.
But-
I want to. This is not a place for jokes right now, though, because the poor guys.
Yeah, we'll get there. But before that, I also have to tell you that in one broadcast, and this was like in April last year.
This is crazy. Yeah.
In one broadcast, he and his sales partner, who was a CCTV anchor, so Chinese Central Television anchor, they achieved sales of 40 million RMB, yuan. What is that in US dollars?
Let me pull.
Let's figure it out. 40 million yen in 2 hours. Okay? And there were nearly 11 million people watching.
$6 million bucks.
So in 2 hours, this guy, like, we got to explain just how big he is. Yeah, $6 million in 2 hours he made sales for like lipstick, but it's not just lipstick. The guy sells everything.
Oh, it's beauty products. It's like
He's
ducks,
the little food
things,
or snacks, like anything. He's become so popular that people obviously they hire him. Companies really pay him a lot of money to go and advertise their products.
Yeah.
So he is China's number one
Juggernaut.
influencer. Number one.
Yeah.
Like there is no. There was a number one before him, and she's disappeared. Why did she disappear?
Let me read the quote here.
Okay.
So her name was Via. Mm-hmm. And she was disappeared. We covered this before, but it's been a while since she pieced out.
So why?
Yeah, so she was known as Via. Her name was Huang Wei, and there was another one called Ju Chen Hui. Her name was Cherry.
Yeah.
And they were fined millions of dollars. So first they disappeared off the internet, right?
Yeah.
For tax evasion by the local tax authority in Hangzhou. That was at least the guise.
Yeah,
why they were punished,
they did that
right?
to Fan Bingbing as well, remember?
Yeah, and they had to make public apologies in their Taobao accounts, which is going to be where they're making the majority of their money and products. And other social media presence disappeared, and they never live streamed again. They effectively disappeared.
Well, I mean, let's then explain what happened to this guy, because we have to get serious about this, okay? Because look, this guy, he's a maverick, okay? He came up from nothing. He built himself on lipstick.
It's actually pretty inspiring. If
Lipstick
you look at,
brother number one.
No, but seriously, like coming from a kiosk and becoming a multi-millionaire influencer.
Absolutely. And
huge fan base, too.
It's admirable. Anyway, the fact of the matter is, okay, that's now the eve of the Tiananmen Square massacre anniversary, okay? And a few hours before the anniversary, he's live streaming, selling a bunch of tat as usual, and selling whatever he's selling.
Sure.
And one of the items that they are presenting is a cake / ice cream / whatever it is that, as you can see in the picture, it's our thumbnail as well. I'll get us out of there for a second. Looks like a tank, right? So now the
it's
thing,
an ice cream cake.
yeah, it's an ice cream cake. Kind of looks like it looks pretty bad.
Let me explain the tank real quick.
Okay.
So the ice cream cake was the base, and then the tread pattern was not tread. It was actually Oreos.
Okay.
And then they used one of those chocolate tubes, those logs, to be the gun, the turret.
Yeah, the turret.
right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
No,
that's
just because you have audio listeners out there.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so it looks like super amateur hour anyway. But that's something that they were showing. And I don't know why they were showing it, if they were trying to sell this or if they were trying to show this is what you can make at home or something.
Yes.
But almost immediately the stream got cut
Yes.
and censored. And all his social media went down. In other words, went silent. I think it's still up there. But since that stream, he hasn't appeared on social media once. Right. He missed scheduled live streams that he was supposed to be doing. Okay, so stuff where he was supposed to be on. And he's not been reachable by anyone.
No. Can I make one quick correction?
What's that?
You know that day where you said he made 40 million RMB?
Yeah.
It was actually 1.9 billion RMB.
Seriously?
Yes.
No, but I know within two
billion in the first day of his Alibaba sales.
No, okay, but I'm talking about him and that woman. They did in 2 hours. Oh yeah. 40 million.
Oh, in 2 hours. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I think that's a key stat to have. That's $200 plus million in a day.
Yeah.
So that's
like this
another
guy,
perspective.
You got to understand how much influence.
You got to understand China, really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. You
got to understand China.
Anyway, that's how much influence. Continue. Yeah. Sorry.
Anyway, so the fact of the matter is, he's gone completely radio silent. I mean, forcefully so.
Silent.
Yeah.
Silent.
Yeah. Exactly. But this has caused something which is known as the Li Jiaqi paradox.
Yeah.
Okay, because nobody could understand, all right? Something that the Chinese government has been working incredibly hard to do over the past two or three decades is to erase any mention, image, or knowledge of the Tiananmen Square massacre. It's not taught in school.
Nope.
It's not taught in history.
Nope.
It's never shown on TV. It's never shown in the newspapers. People who try to talk about get silenced. They get arrested. They get disappeared or whatever. You cannot talk about it. And I experienced this myself in China a lot, that nobody knew what it was.
Oh, yeah, this is what we went through. Yeah.
And the reason I found out about this is, obviously I knew if you're going to China, you don't talk to people about Tiananmen Square. It's a political landmine, it's a hot topic. You don't talk about it. But I remember a couple of times I, by mistake, mentioned it because it turned out the first time I went to Beijing, the first time I went to Tiananmen Square, it just happened to be on the anniversary of the Tiananmen Square massacre. And I couldn't understand what was going on, why there was so much security, why my bag was triple checked, why the guards were following me around, and there was all this crap going on. And so I was, occasionally it came up in conversation. I'd be talking to some friends or people I'd met or students or whatever, and I'd say, when I went to Beijing, it was really hectic because I went there on the anniversary, and then I had to stop myself, and they'd be like, wait a minute. Yeah, and then they were like, what anniversary, And it actually got me into trouble once. But, the fact of the matter is people didn't know. Nobody knew. Nobody knew.
Very few people that I met in China that knew what Tiananmen Square massacre was, they were taught it was a good thing. Yeah. And that it was justified, and they were domestic terrorists.
Yeah, they were getting rid of domestic terrorists. So here's the thing. Most of this guy was born in like 92.
Yeah.
Okay? So he's young, which makes me feel super old. Okay? But he was born in 92. And most of his followers are young women. The majority, like 99%.
Yeah.
Okay, young women.
It would be, with the majority of women being interested in makeup.
Yeah, and handsome young men.
And handsome young men.
So anyway, the majority of his followers are young women who, most of them never knew that this Tiananmen Square uprising happened in the first place. Mm-hmm. They don't know about it. But because his stream got cut, everybody wanted to know why. Because he's the biggest influencer in China. He's the number one. Everybody is invested in him. All of his fans, all of his salespeople, everybody wants to know what happened. So they start looking around. They're like, what did he do? He showed a tank. Why is that sensitive? What's wrong with a tank? And
yeah, actually, I saw some pictures. I couldn't, I saw them the other day, and I couldn't even find them to put them back on. It's been scrubbed.
Yeah.
But there's girls, which is very rare, but girls around college-age girls, standing up with banners that they made for protests. They made protests for him, and it said, like, I'm hungry, but I won't eat until Li Jiaqi comes back.
Yeah.
Right? It's crazy to see.
Because he's missing.
He's missing.
Right? So everybody's like, what could have triggered this? And because of that, they started to do some research. They started to use VPNs. They wanted to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And for the first time, I was reading articles in, not in Chinese media, but in alternative Chinese media, like in Taiwan and various places. I was reading articles of what people were saying, and they were like, I didn't even know about the Tiananmen Square uprising before this happened.
What is that called?
Yeah, that's called the...
Papa, can you see me?
That's the Streisand effect.
Big time. Massive. Huge. And that caused thousands of people to look up something that the Chinese
more
government
than thousands.
Yeah, okay, millions.
Yeah.
Have successfully silenced.
Yes.
China has gotten to the point where they have so successfully silenced and bastardized what actually happened in 1989 that it's not a threat anymore.
Yeah.
It was more of a threat when we were like first in China, when we first got to China, 05 to 08.
Yeah.
There was still a threat where it's recent enough to people like, holy shit, if you find out about that, that's like mind blowing. I remember when my wife found out about that in university, in Macau, her professor taught them about it and she cried.
Yeah.
Because it was recent enough to be like, holy shit. But China has stifled it for so long and so successfully that right now they don't really worry too much about that information getting out there.
Yeah.
But when you actively censor a gosh darn cake,
Yes.
right? Imagine being afraid of a cake.
Yeah.
A Tiananmen Square cake, right?
It's not even a
tank
Tiananmen.
cake.
It's
whatever,
literally a
cake.
tank cake.
A shitty tank cake. I wonder if it
Yeah.
tasted good, by the way. I kind of want a tank cake now.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
but then you get rid of it at the same time. So you stifle this. Imagine if they were smart, you just pull down that episode. If they're going to be that petty and ridiculous, you pull down that episode or you censor that scene, and people like, oh, okay, the rumblings go away. But when you disappear the guy, the number one guy, again,
Number
it
one
shows
influencer.
you how tone deaf and brain dead CCP leadership is when you do that, because they have ultimate goals is to have control over the people.
Yeah.
But people are going to question that. They don't realize. I think the Chinese government said they get scared about how much power and money these people have, like Li Jiaqi. But they don't understand the full scope of that. They don't realize that people care about him more than the Chinese government.
Yes.
The average 20-year-old girl doesn't give an absolute shit about some piece of shit bastard potbelly smoking guy in the CCP.
Yeah, they
don't
care
give
about
a
him.
shit about that guy if he lives or dies.
They care about Lipstick Brother
They
number
care about
one.
Lipstick Brother number one. And the Chinese government not only hates that, right?
Yeah.
But they also think they overestimate their power. They overestimate the fact that people do look up to other people that are much more inspirational, like Li Jiaqi, than some piece of shit CCP potbelly guy.
Of course.
Right? So this is where they've miscalculated people again, and now a shit ton of people in China know about something that they really don't want them to know about.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh?
It's crazy.
Yeah, so the whole end game of this is we don't know if this was intentional or not.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the thing. A lot of his fans are now coming out and saying, he was born in 1992. We didn't know about it. He didn't know about it. Like, this is just... Like, there's a part of me that would like to think that this mega superstar, multi-millionaire that earns so much money would never try to jeopardize his career by doing something like this on purpose. Okay, but part of me really hopes that he did do it on purpose.
I think he did.
Think so?
I think he did. I think so. I think he thought that it would cause discussion without becoming such a big issue.
Yeah, maybe he thought he was too big to be touched.
No, I think it's more of a situation where it's so innocuous and so ridiculous that it's almost like an inside joke or something.
Right, and he didn't think people would take him seriously.
Yeah, like he probably could have pro-democracy inklings, right? He probably studied abroad, that kind of stuff.
Maybe.
But you have a situation where he can do something like this and then nobody pays attention to it and the people that know, and it's kind of like,
right.
It's like a silent acknowledgement.
Maybe it was that woman over there.
Yeah.
It's hard to tell.
It's hard to tell.
It's really hard to tell. Because at the end of the day, the end effect is that he's been completely disappeared.
Yeah.
And completely disappeared off social media, probably permanently.
I speculate that he'll make a reappearance and do some pro-CCP stuff.
Yeah, that does happen.
Do.
That does happen.
Not by his choice, by the way.
No.
Anyway, that's kind of what's happened with that. We thought, this guy, wow, like when they take down big dogs like this, it's not good. It's not good.
No, it's never good. So anyway, now you know how sensitive the Chinese government is about, the Tiananmen Square massacre.
They cry over tank cakes.
And that's why very recently we've had all these incidents in America, actually twice now. Cornell University, just last week.
Yeah.
Was it Cornell University?
Cornell, yeah.
A Hong Kong student was putting up a Free Hong Kong poster.
On a light post.
Yeah, which
stickers,
they're allowed to do.
Yep.
and a mainland Chinese student,
Scratched him.
came and attacked him.
Yeah, scratched his
Yeah,
hand.
well, he didn't come up like a cat and go round.
Kind of. I saw the footage.
He did go round.
You saw the footage?
Yeah, I saw the footage, but I didn't see him come and go round.
No, I saw the aftermath. It just goes, yeah.
No, I mean the injury was a scratch,
Yeah.
but that was the result of a scuffle.
I know.
He didn't come up
I
and
just-
say like, "I'll scratch
I
your
know.
hand if you scratch mine."
I know.
You know, it wasn't like a little.
I was just wondering if you had seen the.
Of
like,
course.
we can't make it out to be like it was
No,
some
I'm not
massive
saying it's
injury.
but he
No,
injured
yeah,
him.
for
He
sure.
drew blood.
He did.
Okay, he drew blood because the Hong Kong guy was trying to put up a poster. So first of all, it is physical
No,
assault.
absolutely. I just didn't.
He was physically
He
assaulted.
didn't get shot.
No, he was physically assaulted by a mainland student,
Yes.
also going to Cornell
Yes,
University.
correct.
And his posters destroyed and ripped up and stuff.
Correct.
Which they got to stop doing this, by the way.
probably.
If there was one thing I could do, if I could choose a full-time job, my full-time job would be to go onto
freedom of
university campuses and make sure that there's enough representation about the Tiananmen Square massacre and Taiwan issues and Tibet and anything that's sensitive.
protected.
Anything that's sensitive when it comes to the CCP. And make sure that anyone who messes with that stuff realizes that there are laws and consequences when you're outside of China.
Right.
Because they always seem to get away with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And this happened as well down in, near where we used to live in California, the USC something, I think it is. They also had a Tiananmen Square thing that they put up. They put up candles, LED candles, but they put up candles.
Oh, okay.
And they stuck some posters to the floor there
and they
to
smashed them
commemorate.
over.
And two mainland Chinese students came, started kicking all the candles away and tearing up the posters and stuff like that. It's like,
Little babies.
dude,
The embassy tells them to do that. by the
spoiled
way.
little children. We get it. In your country, you're not allowed to have an opinion
Sure.
that's other than the main
Right.
narrative. You're not allowed to talk about these things. But when you're in the States and other countries, everybody
That's protected.
has the
Yeah.
right to express their own opinions.
Right.
And you need to be able to respect their opinions. You don't need to, well, at least respect their chance to have an opinion. You don't need to respect them. You don't need to care about their opinions, but you're not allowed to go around trying to censor people on American soil
No.
just because they want to remember the victims of a freaking massacre. You know?
Yeah.
It just shows you how indoctrinated people are and how successful the Chinese government has been
Yes.
at censoring the Tiananmen Square massacre and turning it into something else.
So, to wrap it up, justice for all the people that want to remember this massacre and have representation for it, and justice for Lipstick Man, brother
Lipstick
number
brother
one.
number one.
And we hope to see him back hopefully in a different country where he is safe.
I agree. All right, so I guess we can take a couple super chats before we hit
Yes.
Wu Mao Corner.
Reupload boy, thank you very much. Sneaky Jolteon. Good news, guys. The Banging Pot Music Festival is coming to my town finally. I'm hoping to bring some rotten vegetables. They'll be so goodly.
Oh, you mean they're going to be...
好吃，好好吃。
Yeah, that guy. What does he do again?
我是宠物。
Oh, that's
Okay,
right.
yeah, he
that's
shoots
right.
pegs.
It's like a very noble and old profession.
Yeah.
You know, when I went to I went to the Renaissance Festival not
Yeah,
that
yeah.
long ago, and actually it was a while ago, in upstate New York,
Yeah.
and
Didn't they have like fried butter?
they had all kinds of stuff. I got a turkey leg; it actually sucked. It
What
was
the hell's
nasty.
up with fried butter, by the way?
They didn't have fried butter.
I feel like that's one of
that's
the...
at carnivals.
Okay, I feel like that's a
fairs.
bad thing for
That's
you.
horrid. Why would
feel
you
like it
eat
clogs-
fried butter?
I think
It
it-
doesn't even taste good.
Well, then why do they sell it?
Who's gonna eat butter plain? You know
No,
what
I
Do you
mean,
eat butter
no,
plain?
no.
My mom told me when I was like 3.
Yeah.
I used to she would be on the phone or whatever, and I would like sneak eat like raw, like plain butter on the.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that now. Anyway, can I
Yeah.
get back to my
Sure,
point?
sure.
So when I was at the Renaissance Festival,
Yeah.
I feel like I saw people LARPing around as like their old professions from the Middle Ages.
Yeah, like I'm a blacksmith or something.
I feel like I saw
I'm the
some,
squire.
I feel like I saw some pet shoers.
Oh, you got some
Yeah.
pet shoes, yeah.
For sure.
But for those of you who don't know who that is, it's
我爱海南。
Yeah,
he loves Clayman. He's
He loves
Clayman.
Clayman.
He's Clayman.
He's now become Clayman. Anyway, the Banging Pot Music Festival in this joke was
Yeah.
when people in Shanghai were protesting the lockdowns. They're banging pots and pans out their window.
Yeah.
And then the Chinese government cracked down on that, saying
saying it was a foreign
influence.
forces. Yeah, it was foreign forces are
forces.
convincing people to bang their pots and
Yes.
pans to disrupt the harmony and stuff.
Right.
Usual. They can never take any responsibility for their own
yes.
bad actions.
Jerry Huang says, last night I had a debate with this pro-CCP Singaporean lady who accidentally messaged my number, and it reminded me of Winston's salad scammer video. This is something I'll talk about in the live stream with CCP Shieldbusters.
Okay, good stuff.
Colin Cantardi, I am in Ho Hut. Have y'all been there? I have been to Ho Hut many times.
Yep, been there.
I used to live right next to it. Jia Wus, Yamcha question. Since you like the Sakura Wars games, how or will you watch the Sakura Wars anime?
I have that. I've watched the first 4 episodes.
I think I told you I'm at the end of Sakura Wars. Fantastic game. And I'm trying to find a way to watch the anime. I can't find it, but you bought
I got the DVDs,
right?
yeah.
So you'll lend them to me
Absolutely,
when you're done.
yeah.
Okay, cool.
All right, let's move on, guys. It's time for Wu Mao Corner. This is where we talk about the haters and what they're up to. And, of course, we're always inundated with hate, specifically from Chinese nationalists and those who work on behalf of the Chinese government, trying to whitewash their crimes and their atrocities and so on. Kind of like...
Is that my gold?
What the hell are you?
I'm a leprechaun, me dear. Here.
Anyway, so what do we got today? We've got something ridiculous. Now, the reason I showed the communist leprechaun is the communist leprechaun, amongst other people that are pro-CCP pundits. Is that what you call it? Pundits, yeah. Yes, okay. They went out and celebrated, made videos celebrating the fact that U.S. diplomats said, what did they supposedly say?
Let me just do...
Okay, you want to rewind?
There's a genocide happening in Western China. It's against a minority group, millions of people called the Uyghurs. They're predominantly Muslim. Mm-hmm. The Chinese government's putting them into re-education camps, sterilizing them, doing all kinds of horrible things.
Yes.
China says it's not happening. It's been proven time and time again. It's happened.
Yes.
Massive hack comes in. They hack this
the Xinjiang
police files. They hack this one tiny little police station. They get tons of mugshots, descriptions, code words.
From one tiny area.
PDFs,
Yeah.
PPTs, all these documents, how to put down the terrorists, and all this kind of stuff.
All the directives, shoot to kill if they try to run away.
They try to run away from these voluntary camps.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Proving the genocide.
Yeah.
Right? So you have these files that get leaked and hacked and then leaked.
Yeah.
And then people start covering it. They're like, holy shit, this is crazy.
Yeah.
China goes, absolutely not. This is absolutely not happening. No,
it's not true.
No, don't listen to this. This is bad, right?
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, Chinese state media, rando goes on the mic, Hua Chunying,
yes.
right? She goes on the mic, one of the wolf anchors.
Yes.
And she goes out there and she says, nothing is wrong about Xinjiang, but to attack their human rights policies is an effective means to make Xinjiang break away from international industrial chain and to make Uyghurs...
No, that's not what she said.
No, I know.
What Hua Chunying said, according to reports...
Right.
U.S.
I was about to explain that.
Okay, so this quote,
anyway,
we have to put into context. This quote is what the U.S. diplomats are saying, not Hua Chunying.
No.
This is a fabricated thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
You didn't let me finish.
Yeah, but you were leading people astray. You said Hua Chunying said this.
Hua Chunying, and I was going to say that this isn't true. You spoiled my moment.
Oh,
okay.
Your moment was wrong.
No, it's not.
You're like,
okay. Turbulent and then fight against the Chinese government. She did say this because U.S. diplomats did not say
No, they didn't
this.
say that.
That's my point.
She said U.S. diplomats said that.
So Hua Chunying went out there and said that U.S. diplomats had this quote, according to reports. Turns out there is no report.
Yes.
There are no reports. This quote didn't even happen.
Yes.
And she's going out there on behalf of the Chinese government saying that, so basically what this is it's saying, we have reports that the U.S. government says that Xinjiang is fine.
Yeah.
By the way, this quote isn't even correct English. It's not even native English.
Yeah, so what happened was apparently these U.S. diplomats working for the Guangzhou embassy, right, U.S. embassy, they had like a behind closed doors meeting with some business people. And they apparently said during that time, these two diplomats, one is called Sheila Corey and the other one's called Andrew Chira.
Yes.
Now, apparently they said behind closed doors, according to reports, they said, like you said, nothing is wrong about Xinjiang, but to attack the human rights policies is an effective means to make Xinjiang break away from the international industrial chain and make Uyghurs unhappy, turbulent, and then fight against the Chinese government. Which, of course, what U.S. diplomat is going to say that? Okay?
No, of course not.
You're not going to say that. You're not going to go in there
You're
and...
say that in bad grammar?
Yeah, you're not going to say it, first of all.
No.
But now,
No.
the Chinese government ran with this, and the Global Times put this out in their article, okay?
Yep.
The Global Times being the state media, the kind of like gossip rag, basically. But it is Chinese state media, and it's in English, and they put that out. And then Hua Chunying, which is the foreign spokesperson, went and tweeted this out to everybody and announced it to everyone that, according to reports, the U.S. diplomat said this. Okay.
Thanks for setting me up so I could explain that and then just explaining everything I was about to say.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you just said Hua Qiying said that. I had to
Look
catch
at the
it.
bottom tweet. Look at it.
Okay. What about it?
Look at it.
So what did she say at the bottom?
Take yourself out and look.
No, okay, I'll take myself out of there. Clean vid. Hua Qiying said, but to hype forced labor genocide and to attack their human rights policies through Xinjiang issues are an effective means to make Xinjiang break away from the international industrial chain and to make Uyghurs unhappy, turbulent, and then fight against the Chinese government. That's all in quotation marks.
Yes.
Yeah. So she didn't say that. She said that's what was said.
Because you didn't let me finish.
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll let you finish.
Well, you already did.
What do you want to finish?
You already said the whole thing. So.
Yeah. Anyway, we get it. I think everybody out there gets
Yes,
it,
you get
right?
it.
The fact of the matter is the Chinese government ran with some fabricated quotes that are supposedly from this meeting and went out there to say, see, this is proof that the U.S. government is just trying to cause trouble in Xinjiang, trying to break it away from the industrial chain. So in other words, trying to stop the prosperity. See, make Uyghurs unhappy so that they attacked the Chinese government.
That's what people usually say when they're in the embassy.
Yeah, and what are they doing? What
my favorite
just got to say.
My favorite quote was nothing is wrong about Xinjiang.
Who says that?
Who says that? Have you ever said nothing is wrong about Xinjiang? That's not even correct English.
No, I think Sheila Corey said that in someone's dream.
in someone.
And
someone
Andrew
we know.
Cheer, they're like, nothing is wrong about Xinjiang.
Who says that? It's non-native English.
No, of course.
No one says that. Anyway, let's...
Yeah, so the U.S. State Department or whatever, what would you call that? Is that the State Department or...
Where?
I guess just the U.S. It says U.S. says China fabricated.
U.S.
So
it's U.S. diplomats in Guangzhou.
Okay.
So some randos.
No, but I'm saying the U.S. says China fabricated.
Oh, that. Yeah.
Would that be?
Yeah.
Would that be the State Department?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
So China's like, oh, look what these diplomats said, and the U.S. is like, officially, no, they didn't say that.
Absolutely
Stop
not.
making up nonsense.
No.
And of course, it's not correct. It's not true.
No.
There's no evidence that this took place.
No.
But it didn't stop almost every single bloody pro-CCP shill and sycophant jumping on it.
Those guys have been wrong a lot these days.
Certainly have.
It's bad.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah, so that's the Wu Mao corner, more or less. Do we have anything else to add to that?
Let's find out.
Yeah. It's like this. It's like a lucky bag. Oh, no, we already went through this. Do you get lucky packets, by the way, here in the States?
What's that?
It's kind of like...
Hongbao?
No. It's something I had when we were a kid, and it's like it's called a lucky packet. It's just like a bag. And then you open it up, and it has like a random little toy in it, maybe, and some random kind of candies and stuff.
No.
Okay.
What's lucky about that?
Well, it's kind of like because you don't know what's in it.
Can it be bad sometimes?
No, but it's kind of like if you're lucky, you'll get something better, I guess.
Okay, I gotcha.
You know what I mean? You never had anything like that? Call it a lucky packet or a lucky bag or whatever.
Blind bag, I think.
Yeah, that's what it would be called. Yeah. You know what was really annoying about those is they always had these like pink kind of candies, but it looked like a little pill, and it tasted like perfume.
That sounds great.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Well, I guess it's a South African thing.
Sure.
They were gross. All right, who we got up next here?
Eileen Goo Skier for China, but actually an American citizen. In some bizarre, weird world, she is now the ambassador to bring the Winter Olympics to the U.S.
Is she actually the ambassador, or is she just like being tested as being?
I guess acting as. We call it acting ambassador.
Is she really, or did they just say maybe?
I think maybe.
Okay.
I don't want to say anything. I do want to say that that's just absolutely insane to me because she's the one that said, when I'm in China, I'm Chinese. When I'm in America, I'm American. She's quite literally doing that literally.
Yes.
And skirting all of the concern on both sides because Chinese people are super mad at her right now because she abandoned China and they used her as propaganda to say, look at these Americans are coming to China. Yeah. They're so proud of their homeland and stuff. They used it as soft power. And then she runs back to America And then all the Chinese people are like, what the hell happened? She was supposed to be representing us.
She ran back on a private jet,
on a
and
private
she ran back just before the lockdowns as well. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm done.
Yeah. There's some cartoons that came out. There's one.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look.
Apt.
Yeah. Where is it? There we go. So I actually really like this cartoon.
Yeah.
It's got Eileen Goo as a very unattractive chameleon.
Yeah.
You know, basically changing her colors wherever she goes.
Yes.
I do find it quite ridiculous that she would even be considered to be an ambassador for the Olympic Games in the States.
That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to just be straight up. I don't think anyone gives a shit about the Olympics anymore. It's never been more unpopular, and especially the Winter Olympics. Who cares?
Yeah.
Who
No,
cares?
Winter Olympics has never been a big thing.
No.
Yeah, it is. It's just
Everyone
one of
can
those
use a
things.
VPN, though, in China. Do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Go cry about it. It's free on the App Store, right? I don't know, but I would like you to tell everybody the importance of the Olympic Games to communist nations.
Well, yeah, it's super important because it's a projection of soft power. So before, when communist nations like the USSR or China were very insecure of the fact that Western Europe and America and these countries were getting very wealthy and able to project their power and influence around the world with Hollywood and cars and all these things that they couldn't have, that they have one chance to say, hey, our system may be like, it look more archaic to you guys, you brainwash people in the West, but on the world stage, when push comes to shove, in athletics, we'll beat you. And it proves that we are stronger. It's this very deep insecurity that your country sucks, and let's just be honest. The Chinese government sucks, right?
does,
And they make Chinese people's lives worse. It does. It just makes it worse for people, right?
Right.
So when you go out there and you say, "Oh, I won more medals," and people say, "Oh, well, you know, in some ways, actually, we're really strong. We're beating those other nations finally, right?"
Yeah.
It's our come
And
up.
people start to respect.
People will respect this.
So look at China.
It's an archaic and outdated way to view things.
Yeah.
Most individualistic countries, places where people have their own freedom and rights and choices to do whatever they want, realize that countries that put their athletes through these Olympic mills, basically slave camps to make athletes represent them on the world stage, they realize, hey, this is actually bullshit,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
And we don't care.
I mean, it's one of those things, I guess, when you look at athletes, usually, at least where I grew up and here in America, it's people who have a passion for a certain sport.
Yeah.
They follow it. They realize they're really good at it. They love it, and they really put their they dedicate their lives to it. But it's different. I've met people in China where they have no option other than to do that. If you're from a very poor area, there's no way that you can afford education. There's no way you're going to go to college. But if you're good at athletics and you're spotted by these scouts, then they give you like a bursary, basically. They put you through school. They pay for your education, but your education is just athletics, you know? But it gives you that opportunity to provide for your family and all that kind of stuff. So it's well sought after in the rural areas.
For sure. No, the thing in the US is I actually listened to something the other day. I was on a podcast. It was on Jordan Harbinger's podcast with his buddy. They were talking about the Olympics, and it is a bullshit show in the US as well. Like Olympians are mistreated and not paid, like basically anything, and then they have no opportunities. Right.
That's
afterwards.
nonsense,
It's
yeah.
bad. But it's wildly different than in China, where you're expected to represent the nation on a diplomatic level. And that goes beyond just you being best at your sport or doing that. It's like the face and pride, and everyone's riding on you. So when you have that much behind it, it's like when you fail, you are destroyed. Your reputation's gone. You're a villain in the country.
Yeah.
Whereas in the US, like, yeah, they're mistreated. Yes, their salaries are horrible and they run out of opportunities. But the problem is that at the end, if you lose, let's say you get third bronze, or you get like the fourth prize or whatever, right? In the US, people will be like, "Oh, you did great. You did great. You tried your best." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In China, they hurl abuse at you.
Yeah.
And the government actually supports that. They want people to look down on people that failed for the country.
Yes.
So they promote that abuse online. People will go after you. They try to ruin your life.
Yeah. I mean, that happened with, I just looked him up. I forgot his name. Liu Xiang. Liu Xiang. I remember during the 2008 Olympics and leading up to it while I was in China, he was a superstar. He was everywhere.
Right.
He was on all the advertisements. He was being used. And he got injured or he tripped or he fell or something happened somewhere along the lines and he became demonized and people hated him.
Yeah.
And they were like attacking him and he just disappeared from the spotlight. So that's a good example.
Yeah, it is.
Anyway, so we're just seeing Eileen Goo doing her usual chameleon act over here, signing more brand deals and whatnot. You know, she's writing this whole. She's very crafty. I'll tell you that.
Sure.
Anyway, dude, you were telling me about this. This is pretty intense. Tell me about this.
So this dude, he was works for Jerusalem Post in Israel.
Mm-hmm.
He put out an article, right? And they were talking about Taiwan, how they're worried about, invasion or whatever because of what Russia's done in Ukraine.
Sure.
And the Chinese government actually sent the embassy out to go talk to him. This sovereign citizen in his own country to say, take down this article. Just an opinion piece, really.
Yeah.
Take down this article or we will actually reduce our relationship with your nation, right? We're so upset that you put out this article in your own country with your own freedom of speech that we will actually diplomatically reduce our relationship on a diplomatic level.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And he didn't do it.
Yeah, that's good. I'm glad. It's good that he stood up to it. But it shows you how petty they are.
Yeah.
You know? Anyway, I thought that was pretty hilarious. And yeah. Let's see.
This is your gag.
Oh, yeah. What happened here is they just discovered some mainland Chinese students in Japan paying imposters to go and sit down and write entrance exams, basically, to get into universities for them. And they've been caught doing that in the US, in the UK, all over the place. And what's been happening in the past, at least I remember some cases that were happening in the US and the UK, is in order to get into the college entrance exams for some of these big places, you have to go sit down. And you know, and I know that a lot of the rich kids in China, they're very spoilt. They're not actually very good at their academics, okay? Especially when it comes to things like learning English, for instance, right? This might answer a couple of the questions for people who study alongside Chinese students in their university. You will always find very studious students who are very good and very, very well educated, but there will always be this group of like shit kickers that hang around in the back that never speak English. They drive Ferraris, that kind. They've always got LV bags and shit, but they don't turn up for class half the time. And when they do, they can't speak English. And you wonder, how the hell did they get into the university if they can't even speak basic English? Well, because they pay their way in. And one of the ways they pay their way in is they send their passport via the mail, or via the mail, depending on where you are, in the world. And they'll send it to an agent in the States or in Australia or whatever. Now, that agent then pays somebody who is, first of all, Chinese or Asian looking, that looks kind of similar, all right? Doesn't need to be exact because let's be fair, It's that whole like racist thing where you look at a person as like Asian, if you're a white person, it's kind of difficult to tell, exactly the difference. Same thing for Asians when they see white people. Kind of difficult to tell. Foreigners, that's why they call us Russians or whatever wherever we are. So, there's a little bit of that at play there. But what happens is they get someone basically very similar looking who goes in with that person's passport and ID to go sit the exam. So the rectors and the people that are standing there to watch the people coming in, they're like, look at the passport, see the photo. Yeah, it looks about right. Person sits down, writes the exam, takes a paycheck, goes home. So they pass the entrance exam. But they've caught people who've done that for like 20, 30, 100 people because they keep coming back with a different passport, change their hairstyle a bit. Obviously, they have to do a little bit of work, try to make themselves look a little bit like that person. But this is what's been going on in Japan recently, and they caught a bunch of people.
So, personal story.
Yes.
I was actually preparing 2 students for the entrance exam to get into foreign universities abroad. So they have to pass the English section, right?
Yeah.
Now, this is not, they have like the judges or whatever that look over the test, like you said. But these are not Chinese people. These are from the foreign governments, right? So a British person or an American person or whatever that are overseeing this.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, like they won't be able to cheat their way through this.
Yeah.
No, absolutely not, because some of these people can be paid off as well, by the way, because they're in China when this happens.
Oh, yeah.
Or the entire board is completely corrupt, right? So I had this pair, 2 young lovers. 18-year-old boy drove a Ferrari. 18-year-old boy with a Ferrari. This kid is literally like the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. Such an idiot, right? Absolute dumbass. Some scumbag family from like, they own a bunch of these like really dodgy ass factories in Shanwei.
Yeah.
Right? You know that area.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I know that area.
Pretty dodgy.
Yeah, it's super
the
dodgy.
crime and shit.
It's
That they do. Anyway,
bad, yeah.
huge family, bunch of kids in his family. Piece of shit. He had a car, one of his cars that he used for whore, just like carry shit around. He said whore, put his friends in there. It was a Porsche Cayenne Turbo.
Right.
That was his shit truck.
So
he's 18. He has a Ferrari. He's taking it to class. His lover, though, his girlfriend, she was middle class. Okay. So like not even parents don't even have a car, right? Or like some shit car or whatever. Anyway, like some Buick, like shitty. Remember those Buick station wagons with like the graphic? They had that.
Oh, they had that. Okay, gotcha.
So they love each other or whatever. Blah blah blah. This kid's ugly. He's fat, right? So, but thankfully he's nice to the girl or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, dumb as a sack of bricks. Really rude to me and rude to teachers because he's used to getting away with whatever he wants. But he loves his girlfriend.
Yeah.
The girl speaks great English. He speaks none. He speaks none.
Yeah, not one word. Yeah.
He ends up failing the class. Like I didn't have to give him a grade or anything, but I'm like, there's no way this kid's gonna get through.
Sure.
He ends up passing the exam and she fails. Her English was fantastic.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
It shows you how hard the exam is.
Yeah.
Right? So she legitimately had to take it. He clearly just
paid someone.
Paid his way through it.
You know, this has just reminded me of something that happened to me in China, and I could never really quite figure it out. But I think I've got it now. Remember when I was when I was homeless for those couple of days, right in the beginning, and this agent let me stay on his couch. So he let me stay on his couch. He got me that first kindergarten job, and he was taking like a huge chunk of my salary, like almost 50% basically. And he took me one day, and he's like, his English wasn't great, and my Chinese was rubbish back then. He was Taiwanese anyway. Like a real scumbag gambler type, losing all his money. You know, that guy. Anyway, so he took me to this hotel, and they had like a conference thing at the top, and it had been set up like an exam room. Okay, and he said to me, you know, you have to be here. I'm like, okay. He's like, you have to be here to watch the exam, right? So I'm like, okay, that's bizarre. So he introduced me to everyone, and I had to go sit in the back. So I thought, well, I'm supposed to be here to watch the exam. I should probably do something, right? I just did not know what I'm doing. I get up, and I'm like, I walked up and down, just like, you know, to pretend like I'm looking at stuff. Shit. And he was like, no, sit down. So I sit down. I'm like, okay. And like, I thought legitimately that he wanted me to like mark papers or check grammar or do something.
Shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
White monkey job.
But it turned out to be just a white monkey. It's probably one of those things where they guarantee that there's going to be like a foreign British guy or something that's going to make sure.
That's probably what happened. I sent this guy into something like that, basically.
Yeah. I'm guessing that's what it was.
Probably.
So they probably, because there was like, there were other official looking people there, and they're probably there to like, you know, make, the British consulate did send the guy or whatever it was.
Only if you paid it off.
Yeah.
Only if you paid it off.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
And there's kids that have to legitimately take the exam.
Yeah, I didn't get paid for that, by the way. He just took me out for dinner. Remember, I was homeless. He took me out to dinner afterwards, and, you know, that was it. Yeah, because I was like freaking starving.
Right.
You know, not like nowadays where I could definitely like starve for about a year and I'd be okay. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, it's just clicked. That's probably what that was.
Probably.
Yeah.
That makes
bizarre.
sense. Yeah.
So let us move on. What are we talking about next? This is world news, by the way, right?
It is, yeah.
So let me just put that up because we forgot to say this is World View, where we talk about things that happen in the world, specifically with regards to China, and this time Japan. Now we're going to talk about something which is not World View, but is somehow in World View, but it's a terrible thing. Okay? This has just gone absolutely viral in China right now. Okay, we cannot show it to you. If you go to my Twitter, which is
at
Serpent8, is it?
It's in the description.
It's in the description. If you go to my Twitter, you'll see my latest post. There's a link to this video. If you so choose to go and look at it, but again, this is something that I suggest you don't, unless you have to, or unless you're very curious. This will describe exactly what's going on there. Thanks. But basically, you've got a bunch of people having a good time, hanging out at a restaurant. This happens all the time. It's happened to us many, many times. You're just chilling out. Everybody, this is what people do. People don't really go to bars in China. Okay.
Well, I mean, they do.
Yeah, they do, but it's different. It's not like the bar and club culture.
No.
Bars and clubs in the West, that's where you go to drink.
Yeah.
In China, if you're going to go out for a night drinking, you go to a restaurant. Okay, you really
average
do.
person,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Like my entire 14 years there, when I
There's
went
a
to go
shit ton of bars. I just want people to understand.
it's just not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same.
It's not the same. It's like a techno hole or
Yeah,
something. You don't
yeah.
go there to sit down and have a drink.
or talk.
Yeah. So people like to go sit at restaurants and they
Sure.
drink and, you can sit outside. It's nice and
Yeah.
chat, play dice or whatever, right?
Sure.
That's what was going on. And this random guy and his buddies sitting outside, the guy comes in and he starts to basically proposition the women that are in there, right? So he walks up to one table and he's probably like saying, hey, come sit with us or whatever. And he starts picking on one girl and he starts pushing her around a bit, trying to grab her to take her outside. And she pushes back. Okay. So she's like, no, not having any of this. She's sitting with her friends. She's just having a meal. Everything's fine. She's not doing anything weird. She's just there. So this guy then suddenly starts just attacking her, like badly, smashes beer bottle over her head, drags her. His friends come running in. They start throwing chairs. They start attacking older women.
Yep.
Like, it's violent. These guys went terrible, like horrible. Luckily, nobody died. Okay, got to put that out there. No one died. So far. Some of them are still in hospital, but like they appear to be out of danger.
Sure.
But the guy is literally dragging the woman out by her hair, dragging her outside, smashing more beer bottles on her head, beating her, and kicking her head with his shoe. And,
Other people joined in.
yeah, other people, his mates are joining in, beating all the other women up in there and throwing their heads on the ground, doing all this disgusting stuff. Terrible. Awful scene. And this is actually quite common in China.
Yeah, can I just say?
Yeah.
It's so common. It's not even
Yeah.
funny. The thing is, I don't like how this story is getting attention because it's bringing attention to
Yes.
something, but it's like people treat it like some shocking isolated incident, and it's so goddamn prolific in China.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. On a daily basis, you will see these videos. If you're on any sort of WeChat group
Yeah.
or anything like that. Not only that, you'll see this happen around local cities and in restaurants and stuff. It's so ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And so common, the abuse of women
Yeah.
in these scenarios and just brawls in general and these
Yeah.
things. I think people think, oh, it's in Asia, so it's going to be a peaceful place or something. It's
No.
crazy.
No.
The street I used to live on, it's like a daily occurrence.
Yeah. I remember in Huizhou down
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Right where I lived in my
Yeah,
neighborhood.
yeah.
It was crazy, dude.
I remember.
Meat cleavers flying.
Yeah, we'd be
bro,
out there all the
beer
time.
bottles.
Yeah,
It's wild.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Anyway,
yeah.
I just want to say all the attention should go on this. But I want the attention to continue because this is not something like, oh, justice for these guys alone. This happens so often.
Yeah.
So common.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right. Now, the thing is, this garnered so much attention.
Yeah.
It's had hundreds of millions of views, as far as I know.
Yeah.
It's gotten tons of shares.
They couldn't shut it down in
Yeah.
China. They couldn't shut it down.
No.
It was too popular.
It's gotten to a point where so much attention, and rightfully so. So many people are calling these guys beasts, but you got that othering thing where they're like, oh, but they're from East China, so
I hate
like,
that.
yeah, it's like
whatever.
whenever you get this kind of thing, they're like, oh, they're Eastern Chinese, so it's not, or they're from the north, or whatever.
They're northern.
Yeah, but anyway,
northeastern.
Yeah. The fact of the matter is, this is a terrible, terrible thing that's happened, and it's brutal. And you get to see the overly hyped up bystander effect that you get in China.
Yeah.
No one stepped in to help these poor women.
The thing is, like, this happened in Singapore, right? Mm-hmm. And like a meat cleaver incident, they always attacking each other.
That just happened in Shanghai. I'm not bringing it up in this. No, we're not going to bring it up, but
But anyway, this
happened like
happened
yesterday in Shanghai.
This happened in Singapore,
Right.
And everyone ran to help. To stop him, ram him, stop the dude, cut him off from this. And these are ethnically Chinese people too.
Yeah,
it's
of
not
course.
a race thing.
No, of
right?
course not.
It's
It's
the bystander
society.
effect from society, from the government, basically punishing people that get involved in stuff.
Yeah.
So what happens when you have an apathetic society?
Yeah, no, it's awful. So anyway, like I said, luckily all the women survived, but horrifically beaten with like beer bottles broken over them and stuff, so cut up, and it's awful, right? But because it went viral, the police did get involved, and they did actually capture the perps. So
The thing is, I don't want to celebrate the success of this.
No.
Because this happens so often where people get away with it. Do you know how many times people just get away with this?
Yeah.
It's all the time. It's ubiquitous, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, it only got attention, and then people will say, look at how the legal system in China, like they caught the bad guys and stuff
Yeah.
because of whatever. They want to say like, oh, because of cameras, or because like Chinese cops are good or something like this. No, it's because China lost face and they couldn't shut it down.
no, they couldn't. Absolutely. So, I mean, the main perpetrator is the guy on the far left over there, okay, who's wearing the kind of jacket thing. He's the guy who came in and started harassing the women and stuff. The guy in the middle was the guy throwing chairs at people and so on, and the other guy was also heavily involved in beating people up and beer bottles and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, anyone who's lived in China who has WeChat,
you've seen this.
Seen it.
Anybody that's lived in China saw this story and like, oh, again?
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. The difference being that this time it went viral. It's the sort of number one thing going on in China right now. You can't avoid this story. No. Which is why we're bringing it to you, of course. And it's important to once again shine a spotlight on the plight of women in China.
Yeah.
I did a video about the plight of women in China where a similar situation to this, where a woman was dragged into a car and almost kidnapped and being beaten, like head being slammed in the door and stuff. And, it took forever for anyone to even like try to step in. And finally the guy just drove away. And luckily she didn't, do anything. But I've done a video on this. I've done a couple of videos on this. We've talked about this a lot. When it comes to women's equality in China, it's not really a thing.
It's used as propaganda, though, from the government. And actually people in the West that misunderstand it. That somehow think China has really good women's rights.
No.
It's awful.
It's terrible.
Awful. The men usually went out in this situation. They get away with huge amounts of abuse. Remember, that woman is being beaten next door to me. I called the cops, and the cops told me it was a family situation.
Yeah.
They completely backed out of it. And that's usually what happens.
Yeah, it's not good. So when it comes to domestic abuse and that kind of thing, I did another thing about that recently. Remember that guy who almost beat his wife to death, but it was on camera,
Yeah.
And the grandmother just kind of comes and watches it's normal and stuff, that thing. It happens. It's awful. So sometimes these terrible tragedies, which do happen very often in China, they need a spotlight shone on them.
Yeah.
They need to spark discussion because this is a part of Chinese society that needs to change.
Yeah.
There needs to be proper laws and repercussions because that's the problem.
Accountability.
You get this stupid Pig's Peak guy. We call them Pig's Peaks because, that's...
It's a long story.
Yeah, anyway, these Pig's Peak guys getting drunk and they go around, they get pushy, they want to have their way with whatever women, they resist and they just beat them up and usually they can just go home and laugh about it later and it's okay.
Connections.
Yeah, that's not okay. You should be completely have the book thrown at you for assault and whatever else, attempted murder in this case, really. And examples need to be made because right now too many people act with impunity. Speaking of acting with impunity, did you put in the thing about Drew's thing in here by any chance? Did you put that in?
No, I didn't. Okay.
If you guys remember, Drew Pavlou in Australia was holding up that sign saying "Screw your mother, Xi Jinping," and the guy assaulted his cameraman friend, tore his sign up. The guy didn't get any jail time. He got basically a community service and a $1,500 Australian dollar fine, which, again, it shows you acting with impunity. And I mean, the reason why, when he was in court, he actually said like, oh, like this could affect my livelihood. And
no, you know what he also said?
What?
He unintentionally hugged those guys.
Yes, he said he unintentionally hugged him. Yeah. Meanwhile, if you watch the footage, he's like grabbing him, trying to grab his camera and destroy it.
Oh, I just want to love you.
Yeah, come on, seriously. The fact of the matter is, he is exactly this type of person. If you look at him, just his appearance and his behavior, he is one of these
that haircut,
thuggish,
it's that white T-shirt, it's that whole deal.
He's a thug.
Yeah.
Okay, and
that
that kind of thug in China gets away with this kind of terrible behavior, and that's why he thinks he could do the same thing in Australia and get away with it. But because there are real laws in Australia, thankfully still are real laws in Australia, he at least had to go to court. Now he's got a criminal charge against him. He has to pay a fine.
Probably won't do it
and he
again.
probably won't do it again. But that's the thing. You need to have repercussions to bad actions in order to stop certain types of people, especially people like this.
Right.
So I hope that these guys get the book thrown at them. I hope something big happens from this. And I really hope...
might correct some behavior. Maybe.
Yeah, I really hope that this starts to become a thing in China where offenders like this don't get away with this shit.
You understand, though, and this is not me being pessimistic. This is me being realistic. In my experience in China, I think you'll agree with me that the outcome of this is not going to be that people will learn from this and that people will be punished more in the future. The outcome of this will be, let's scrub this faster off the internet and make sure no one sees it.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately the outcome of usually what happens.
No, we'll agree with you on that. Anyway, so we just had to cover that rather disturbing and awful little tidbit over there. Mm-hmm. What else do you have in here? Oh, that's just before our thing. Okay, that's cool. Right. So what are we doing? Are we going? I guess we're going to go directly into Yamcha.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. let's hit Yumcha, guys. For those of you who don't know what Yumcha is all about, it is our Q&A section where we answer your super chats. We're very much looking forward to it. And it stays up on the weekend. We get rid of it on Monday, so you can watch it here live. You can watch it during the weekend. And if you don't catch it, you can always watch it if you are a patron.
Yeah.
Speaking of patron, let's do a little... Where did I even put that? There. Let's do a little patron plug.
If you want to support us on patreon.com/ADVpodcast, you get the uncut podcast, and you get to talk to us directly.
Yeah, excellent. So before we even get into Yumcha, which, of course, it's time to relax and loosen the tie and all that, maybe we should do a little plug for our videos. What do you reckon?
Yeah,
Wanna
so
do a
this week we have a couple of videos here. They're
Let's take
in
a
the...
Okay, sorry.
The giant U up there.
Yeah, look, it's Inception. I'm even wearing the same clothes.
You are. This is wild.
It's weird.
So anyway, in the description, you'll see a video from Lawai86, that's me, and a video from you, Serpent ZA. And this week's videos are about your 5 deadly sins of China, which is a great compilation you made. I thought a lot of good stuff went into that. And then my video is about how the Chinese government literally tried to pay me money to post propaganda about George Soros, Ukraine, and how the Chinese government is good.
It's ridiculous. It's like that time they tried to pay us about the white-tailed deer.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's
Check out
take a quick look at some previews here. China's top 5 sins. Local Chinese brands get knocked off too. For instance, a very popular brand of Chinese gas station is Shut up. For instance, up north, a very popular brand of gas station is You Smile. This is a Yuemlist shop.
What if I told you guys that here in my hands, I have documents of the Chinese government reaching out to me, trying to pay me to flip me to be more positive about China. In fact, not only just to be more positive about China, but to spread Chinese propaganda, to actually give me money, give me compensation for changing my opinions and values, to actually help brainwash you, my audience, to like the Chinese government.
Yeah, so
Check them out after the show.
Yeah,
please.
take a
both.
look.
We need the views, and not only do we need the views, we need you to watch them because we think you'll find them entertaining and important and educational.
at the end of the day, that's the entire point.
Yes.
I mean, like if you're not enjoying, if you're not enjoying, no, I mean, if you're not going to enjoy what we're making, then what are we doing here? What are you doing here?
What are you doing here?
Come on,
what are you doing here?
We're part of a big family here. You know, help each other out. Anyway,
videos are in the description, so
Sure.
please get them loaded up in a tab right now if you can. By the way, make sure you're subscribed to all of our channels.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
If you don't mind.
Yeah.
Because we're trying to get me to that big big one.
nine. What is it? 850?
850. We're almost at 850.
Yeah, got to get you to 850.
Yeah.
We push for 850.
Yeah.
Excellent, guys. So let's start out. What do we got going on here?